weirdest thing about the pop music of the 70s being so important today, to me, is just that, like, I guess maybe that there was it was okay to be whatever you were gonna be, and that was what was promoted. It even went into a little bit into the 80s that way, you know, where you could be sort of whatever you wanted to be, and it was cooler for you to be an original, you know. So nobody like Pink Floyd. There's nobody like the Allman Brothers. There's nobody like the Bee Gees. There's nobody like Kiss. There's nobody like, you know. I mean, like, it was really cool to be your own thing, you know. Pop music of the 70s, you know, whether it was the actual pop music or it was the album music like Pink Floyd, you know, and Yes. I mean, some of this music is incredible. Rush, it's incredible music. And when you listen to it, you're like, it's timeless. Led Zeppelin. Who sounds like Led Zeppelin? Nobody.
Nobody.
You know, and what ended up happening, and it's my quest for life, is, you know, because I can't stand clicks, and I couldn't stand them when I was a kid, but my quest for life is just to make sure that in some way I can try to keep reminding people to be themselves, because the biggest shame in the world is people not feeling like they can be whoever they want to be. Real music is not pretty, you know. Real music is crazy, you know. Ozzy Osbourne's voice or Tony Iommi's guitar playing, and, you know, that's those people, you know. That's how they sound, you know. That's their, like, musical personality, and you know, these days people think they're better off not being themselves, so they try to be, you know, all these other people.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder. Maybe you don't see the shirts the way you do metal shirts, but that's still relevant, important music.
Absolutely.
Again, even James Taylor, and, you know, on a different level. A lot of that stuff I appreciated when I was older. But yeah, there really isn't a lot of music since then that's sort of held up. I think, at one time, pop music was really done by musicians. You know, Stevie Wonder was a great musician.
Fantastic.
Now, it's not like, you know, it's not like pop music has to be done by a genius musician, by like him or Prince or somebody that like plays every instrument, and
or even like the Police, you know, they were having pop hits back then.
Great
Yeah.
musicians.
Great musicians.
James Taylor, great musician. Pat Metheny cites him as a guitar influence. Joni Mitchell did a tour with, guys like Metheny, Michael Brecker, Jaco Pastorius. They were all like dying to work with her. So there were musical standards back then.
I think that the reason that you think that is that you weren't there.
Oh,
and that means that the people who were great artists from that era have maintained.
Right.
So I remember during the 80s thinking, this is the worst era of music on the history of Earth. Other than, even when I was there, you know, the Bad Brains, or these bands that kind of were like, oh, well, they're great. And then I was like, Talking Heads, you know, oh, well, they're great. But still, I had to be, because I was in my 20s, in the 80s, 30s, mid-20s, like I was really hyper aware of it. And it was like 50 billion god-awful crap, will you please turn that crap off songs. And now, I don't remember what they are.
Right.
But I do remember Prince, and I remember Talking Heads, and I remember B-52s, and I remember, you know, English Beat, and I remember the Specials, and I remember Bad Brains, and I remember all these great bands, right? So I theorize, my theory is that it's always great music happening.
Yeah.
Always. And it's probably about the same amount. But popular culture being driven by money, right? Advertisers, radio stations that just want to make money is constantly cramming so much junk down your face that you have to really weed through. You know, people used to say that about the 60s, especially closer to the 60s, like in the 70s. It was like the 60s, the 60s, the 60s, everything in the 60s was so great. It wasn't. A lot of it was just tripe, you know what I mean? And that sounds mean and judgmental, but with every passing year, what still sounds not dated sort of becomes narrower and narrower from that era.
Right.
And you know, and honestly, a lot of the values of that era, you know, to me are just horror. You know, don't, you know, love the one you're with, and what the hell is that? It's a bunch of bull. You know? Like that was like a big hit song, you know, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, I know it sounds, but you know what I mean? I just think about, if you can't be with the one you love the one you, it was like, you know, if you were there, it was kind of like, oh, this is my chance, you know, to get, you know, pick up girls. These eras that seem so, you know.
Huge and fantastic, right?
Yeah, I mean, Stevie Wonder's Stevie Wonder. So,
Right.
Stevie Wonder, you know, was the best singer of all time. And yes, he's from the 70s. You know,
But-
Aretha Franklin was from the 70s, and so was, you know, James Brown and all these, whoever.
Right.
But I don't know that it was all that great. As a matter of fact, you know, the 70s were weird. The 70s were weird.